As creatives, we've all experienced slumps in our creativity. And with over 6 years of creative marketing experience, I've learned a couple of tips and tricks to get out of my slumps and back to creating because my job literally depended on it. So if you're in a creative slump right now and need a little help boosting your creativity, you've come to the right place. Hi everyone, I'm Tabs and welcome back to another video. First of all, I just want to define what a creative slump is and what actually causes creative slumps. I'm sure many of you have experienced your own type of creative slumps, whether it's a writer's block, painter's block, but to formally define it, a creative slump is a period where a creative displays a significant decline in their creative output, creative inspiration, and or ability to produce new ideas. It's often a feeling of being stuck or uninspired in your artistic endeavors, regardless of your field. It's essentially a temporary block in creativity where generating new work just feels impossible. But from my experience, creative slumps typically happen when I'm experiencing imposter syndrome or don't meet some unrealistic expectation that I put on myself. See, when I'm in my creative zone, I'm really in my creative zone, but when that inner saboteur rears her ugly head, I completely lose all of my creative juice and just give in to fear. Whether it's fear of judgment, fear of failure, or even fear of freaking success. But the truth of the matter is, no matter how successful or famous you are or whatever you become, you're always going to experience a creative slump. And that fear of whatever, it really just never goes away. So, since we know that this feeling is neither new nor permanent, we also know that creative slumps are just phases and that they will eventually go away. And with that being said, here are my go-to ways to slip out of your slump and get back to creating even better and more inspired art. Tip number 1, try a different medium. If you're a writer like me, try cooking. If you're a painter, try pottery. If you're a chef, maybe try writing a song. The point is to try to channel your remaining creative energy into trying something new. You all know, outside of my day job as a creative lead and a digital marketer, I'm also a nail artist, now vlogger, sometimes graphic designer, and writer. But something that has really helped me expand my creativity is DIYing. So some of my favorite DIY activities are decadent pipe decorating, plushie making, air dry clay crafts, literally anything that I can do with my hands. I love it. I will say that nail art used to be that creative outlet for me, but once I started monetizing my nail art and having to really do like the more customer service aspects of that hobby, because it just turned into a monster that I couldn't control, my passion for nail art and like my creativity and like inspiration for nail art definitely stifled. I personally like to find creative hobbies that aren't being monetized and are just purely for my own enjoyment. I recently went to a new DIY studio located in Pasadena that lets you create Moru dolls. I don't know if y'all have heard of these. Apparently it's really big in Asia, but I created a little Moru doll of my boyfriend and it turned out really cute and I really like the process. It's very different from other DIY activities like decorating, where everything is very manual and you have to really plan. But for the Moru doll, it's just like you make this figure and you dress it up, and that's pretty much it. It's like a Build-A-Bear, like a mini Build-A-Bear. If you're interested in any DIY activities, I've linked some of my favorite DIY studios in the bottom description. Tip number 2 is to just change your scenery. Go outside, go connect with nature, go connect with people in your community, talk to people, go eat some really good food, look at some art in a museum, just go outside and experience. Once you're outside, think about what colors you see, what do you smell, what do you taste, what are you feeling. I feel like it's really important as creatives to really get in touch with our senses, because art makes you feel things and art in itself is just an experience of experiences. Like it's a physical manifestation of an experience that will allow other people to feel that experience. Maybe you'll feel a jolt of inspiration come through when you're taking a walk next time you're outside. Personally, for me, I am a huge fan of nature, especially green things. Green is my favorite color, by the way. Some of my favorite places to visit when I'm not feeling super creative are places with a lot of foliage, like parks or gardens. Specifically, I really love the Huntington Library here in LA or the Arboretum. Both of these places are really vast plant conservatories that also sometimes show art and or animals, but it's really nice to just walk around a park or a garden and look at different colors and textures. And even though I am a writer, all of these different things just stimulate my brain in a way that helps me output more creativity in anything that I'm writing, especially for work. There's just something about a freshly curated bed of flowers or a freshly curated succulent formation. I don't know. There's just something about plants that just gets me going. And I think it's because it just feels fresh. So it's kind of like a mental reset from seeing something visually fresh. Okay, so tip number 3 is to get active. I know you've probably heard this one. So this one is definitely not new. And you are probably tired of hearing it, but it's absolutely true. Who would have known that exercise helps with your mental health? So according to the National Library of Medicine, exercise improves mental health by reducing anxiety, depression, negative mood, and cognitive function. And apparently exercise has also been found to alleviate symptoms of low self-esteem and social withdrawal. Who would have known? Again, who would have known? So as some of you might know if you follow me on Instagram, I started working out consistently maybe about 2 years ago, but I've only started walking 10,000 steps per day about 8 months ago. And at this point, I literally can't even imagine my life without getting my steps in every day. The gym is one thing, like even on those days where I skip the gym, I still literally cannot pass up getting my 10K steps just with the serotonin boost alone. And making sure that I get my 10K steps makes me feel a little bit more accomplished at the end of the day, which makes me feel better about myself and makes me feel like I can actually create something good the next day if I'm feeling a little bit slumpy. Tip number 4 is to collab with fellow creatives. I absolutely love connecting with like-minded creatives. To me, there's literally nothing like having a long talk with someone who's passionate about something and listening to them talk about that particular thing for hours on end, because I can see the passion like burning behind their eyes, and then that passion inspires me to become passionate about other things that I'm passionate about. It's like a never-ending cycle of inspiration, and having creative people in your circle is so refreshing, but also you get to like bounce ideas off of each other. It's just so nice. That is why I started my podcast, the Low-Key Clueless podcast, where I sit down with some of my friends or people in my community to talk about their passion projects, careers and lives, etc. Plus, we offer some words of wisdom to people who might need a little guidance on how to navigate the job market. Aside from the shameless plug though, connecting with fellow creatives is just fun. You can bounce ideas off of each other, get inspired by what each other does, or even create something together that you probably wouldn't have created by yourself. But I will say this, I don't want to generalize creatives at all, but in my experience as a creative, I feel like creatives just tend to be a little bit more introverted and socially awkward, or like, you know, just a little bit more shy. So connecting with other people and not feeling like icky about it is definitely hard. But once you find that really good creative crew that you actually connect with and it's easy to talk to them, the creative synergy is just so good, and you just start creating like really cool stuff. So tip number 5 might be a no-brainer to some of you, but it's something that I still struggle with, and it's to take a break and just create some distance. So when it's the end of the workday and I'm just reviewing my team's work or trying to give edits and I just have zero to give, like sometimes I feel like I can't even type another word or look at another website banner, I will just close my laptop and leave. Basically saving all of that work for the next day when I have fresh eyes. I think it's super important to find time to create some physical space and mental space from your work. Whether that is a few hours, a day, a week, a month, I feel like it's super important to just take your time because it's hard being a creative. It's hard literally forcing your mind to create fresh ideas day in and day out just to have like all of your pitches be rejected. It's super important to just do nothing and think about literally anything else other than work. And they give you PTO for a reason, so just take it. Tip number 6 is another easier said than done one, and it's to release comparison and judgment. Sometimes when I'm in therapy and I tell my therapist about something that I'm scared to do because I'm afraid of people's judgment or what people are going to say about me behind my back, la-di-da-di-da, basically because I'm afraid of just being perceived, she often asks me, well, what are they going to say if you do X? And every single time I can never come up with a good enough answer because she always basically says, well, like, okay, what if they do say that? Like, let them. Anyway, after years of talking to my therapist about this, I figured that I am so scared to be judged by other people because I judge myself so harshly. And I hate to admit it, but I am my own worst enemy when it comes to creating, and I am my worst critic, my worst judge. I have the highest expectations of myself, and I'm also a perfectionist. I get in my head a lot, okay? And this is something that I've had a really hard time unlearning. Like, I'm still actively working on unlearning this. But the next time that you feel a little bit scared about what others might say, and you catch yourself thinking, well, what are they going to say? Or what are they going to think if I do this? I challenge you to challenge yourself. Ask yourself, what do I think? Is this something that's true to me? If the answers are relatively positive, I feel like you have your answer. But all in all to say, I think that it's super important to show yourself compassion and just allow yourself to create something bad. And finally, tip number 7. This last one I feel like is a fairly simple one that we often forget about, and that is generally to just do something that you like to do, something that you love. And I literally hate to sound like James Franco in This Is the End with the whole everything is art bit, but literally everything is art. There's literally so much inspiration all around us, which basically means that there's an endless amount of inspiration, even in the most mundane things. A little thing that you all might not know about me, before I stopped eating red meat, I was in love with hot dogs. Costco hot dogs in particular. And I didn't even plan this, but I'm wearing my hot dog tank top today. And don't get me wrong, I still love a good hot dog. I still love a good plant-based hot dog, but it is so hard to find a good meat substitution that actually hits the spot. Tangent over. Anyway, one day I was making air dry clay art with one of my friends, and I was just like, oh, you know, like, I'm just gonna create a hot dog because I like hot dogs. Needless to say, that little hot dog figurine brought me a lot of laughs and really great conversation, and a little figurine that I now use as like home decor. And every time I see this little hot dog figurine, it makes me smile. So the next time you are feeling just super uninspired, think about what you love and then just make it. So if you're experiencing your own creative slump, I hope that you have found some inspiration in this video, some tips and tricks that you can take home and use to start getting those creative juices flowing again. If you would like a word of encouragement or have a very specific question, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I will make sure to get back to you. I cannot wait to see what you all create once you get out of your creative slumps. As always, thank you all so much for watching and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!